Welcome back, everyone, to Ladder League predictions. This is officially the start of Ladder League. I know we had our LCQ matches, and I'm gonna start by reviewing them. But week one is coming up hot. Tomorrow, first match coming up, and I have a long video planned here. It might be the longest one, maybe not because in the future we'll be getting guests on every week. But for the first week, just gonna be me. But to start, I just want to quickly go over how this video is gonna go. So first, we're gonna do a little LCQ review. Um, I do want to mention that if compared to I want to shout out Anonymous's videos because he is going to be doing kind of a different style, a little bit different style than I am, where he's going to go kind of in depth on the match reviews. So especially one, if you miss the matches, those are really good to watch. But also you get a little bit more in depth, well, a lot more in depth review than what I'm going to do for the review section. I think I'm going to more focus on, I guess specifically over the year, the recap is kind of the predictions portion, but also kind of analyzing the runners and how they're gonna do and whatnot. So I think I'm gonna spend more time on predicting slash what my guest has to say versus the recaps, which Anonymous is gonna be very recap heavy. So definitely go check out Anonymous stuff. I think we're actually gonna be doing a little 1-2 special tonight. I don't know when his is coming out, but we're both gonna be posting tonight, which is gonna be awesome content. Hopefully you guys don't stay up too late watching all of it. But I know Anonymous's is gonna be really long. This one we'll just wait and see. There's a lot on here, and I'll continue reading down the plan for this. But there's a lot. I don't know. We'll see how long I can yap for. Anyway, so we're gonna do a quick review of the LCQs. I think specifically I'm gonna be focusing on, the under and over performance of each player, kind of analyzing how they did compared to the PV, maybe what they were before the LCQ and now what they're looking at after. And then obviously I want to look at the expectation for those who did qualify. Just a quick little LCQ review section. Then we're going to jump into the first power ranking of the season, the pre-week 1 power rankings. And by the way, this is not an official power ranking. There's no such thing as the official power rankings right now. This is completely subjective, and it's fully based on in the now. Like, I'll put it this way. If everyone raced, a 21-person race right now, what do I think would happen? Like, on average, what do you think the finishing positions would be? And that is kind of what it is. It's all in the now. I just want to say that, and I'll reiterate it when we get to the power rankings, but it is all in the now. It is not about how I think the overall will do in the ladder league. That will be more for the predictions section, and I will be doing my live predictions picks here on this video. So I'll be doing the weekly picks. I will be doing, I guess, yeah, that kind of goes into our next section, the weekly picks. I will pick the placement matches, and then I'm gonna fill out. So what I'm gonna do every week is just a fun thing, and we'll see how I do at the end of the year. Is I'm gonna fill out, since Zach just added this feature last night, a theory bracket one every week. Maybe stuff will change. I'm gonna fill out one new theory bracket every week, and we're just gonna see. I'm gonna like kind of screenshot each one and see how it does at the end of Ladder League. But anyways, starting off, let's start with the LCQ. And wow, was this cinema! Both days were great. Obviously, the first day, I think I mentioned this previous video, we had no doubt games, no Zoda day one. So we didn't quite get the 13-person race, but we got 11. By the way, apparently I was wrong about the largest TCS race in history being the LCQ. Apparently it was the Summoning Salt anniversary race. I wasn't part of that. I don't even remember that happening, but apparently that was bigger. I don't know how many people that was, but apparently it was bigger. Anyways, let's talk about LCQ 1. And I guess here you'll see the difference between me and Anonymous. Anonymous is going to actually show you what happened. I will tell you what happened briefly, and he's going to show a lot more in-depth stuff. But LCQ 1 was phenomenal. I believe early on, everyone who is basically Gamer Olive and below on this list kind of struggled. Actually, Nolan is the one person who was not, in the struggle. So we actually, okay, let's go one run at a time. Staunch, very interesting start for Staunch. Had an actually really good episode 1, like actually top 4. I think at one point he was in 3rd during episode 1. I'm like, wait, is Staunch about to just pull off the unthinkable? And then Staunch ended up, kind of dying down, definitely not having a good run for even his time. But, some disasters in 2, some disasters everywhere. I didn't really catch much of Staunch's run, especially because it was 250, but it went off the rails really quick. A couple notes because Appleman and Paxo both DNF'd. Both of them had a run going. Paxo was actually on PV pace into Bespin, but then popped and bounced right before the door for bridge skip and just decided to reset because everyone had qualified at that point. And same thing with Appleman. I don't remember exactly where he reset, but he didn't finish the run either, which is allowed in the LCQs. So just to mention those two DNFs. Chroma Q actually with a pretty solid run. Obviously a lot better than his day 2, as you can see. He was, obviously not really in the fight to qualify very much, but he was definitely up there at the beginning. And, he was someone just to keep an eye out for PB watch the entire day. And I believe he did PB in this LCQ. So a good PB from Chroma, but, not going to be enough. Obviously, it was going to take a big uphill climb for Chroma to actually qualify, especially day one where he had that better run. But still a solid performance day one for Chroma, considering where his PB is at. Nolan was the one that was really, really interesting day one because he, not only did he beat his PB, he actually, I think, lost a lot towards the end of this run. So he was he was, even further ahead than 234.21. He was, almost, through halfway through the game, maybe even in episode 6, was still, in it to win it. He could have still qualified. It would take a great, great performance from Nolan for the late game, but he was still hanging around, which I didn't expect, which kind of day 2 led to, oh, is Nolan going to be someone we can see kind of shockingly qualify day 2, especially with this day 1 performance. But he does get a huge PB in day 1, and then, I mean, still a great performance from Nolan here, and that really led up to a great day 2, which I'll start talking about in a second. Obviously, Y2's day 1 was interesting because he didn't really have that good of a run. Mind you, he kept PB streak going. So, right, he went 3 for 3 before the tournament on PBs. He goes 4 for 4 in the tournament with the first match being a PB. And it wasn't a big PB, and it was a run with a lot of disasters, as we might have expected. I think in the predictions video, I kind of thought Y2 was not going to have a great first day. I honestly didn't know he was going to still PB. Still a good run to PB day 1, your 4th ever run, 4th PB. But yeah, honestly, not a great day 1 run from Y2, but it was, I think it was kind of expected and I wasn't expecting a Y2 day 1 qualification. And I'll get to Y2 more on day 2 because it's a lot more prevalent there. And now let's talk about Olive, because this was really interesting. The race for Olive was, a really poor start. And I mean, we saw a 4x negotiations from Olive, or maybe it was even a 5x. I think 5x is day 2, 4x on day 1. And it was a terrible start. And Olive really wasn't even in the picture until Bespin, literally. Olive was there on the bottom, but hovering a couple minutes back from everyone in the qualifying spots for a long time. And it was kind of going into CCT Bespin. It was kind of yeah, Olive's kind of out of it. And then, with what happened on Bespin, which was absolute cinema, Olive ended up only finishing 11 seconds behind the qualifying spot, because there was a lot of mistakes from runners ahead, which I'll go over in a second, because right when we talk about this Charizite versus Cheswiz gap, I'll explain what happened in the race if you did miss it. But yeah, Olive finishes 11 seconds off, which is quite a bit of an underperformance, honestly. I know this time for Olive, isn't that bad compared to BB, but I thought Olive would really be up there with the, the big hitters. And I thought Olive was going to qualify day 1. That was an incorrect prediction from me. I thought it was going to be an Olive qualification day 1. Was not to be. Obviously, you can see day 2, she won the race, but, a little bit of a sketchy start there for Olive, considering, beat by Chess. Obviously, day 2 is going to be, she's favored, but, a little bit of a sketchy start, not qualifying day 1. And then, okay, let's talk about Chess and Charizite, because going into Bespin, Chess... Actually, I believe Mello... Wait, I'm trying to even remember the race properly. So Coulson had basically been cruising this entire time. He had a disaster in Droid Factory, but after that, he was cruising the entire race. There's a little bit of back and forth with him and Charizite and him and Mello, but Charizite with 40-second try BBJ or something. Mello took about a year to get second gate, skip an Endor, and with that, Coulson took the lead, and honestly just cruised from there on out. I know, the gap doesn't look that big to Mello, but it really was almost just not in doubt that Coulson would win. There was a little scare. His Bespin line for hitting the GTF trigger was really close, and I was really worried about it. But other than that, he was playing really well, played well. Not only did he get a 228 in qualify, he actually got a 225 a day later, or 2 days later, one of the two. Very recently got a 225, improving his PB by a lot, and suddenly putting himself in the mix of he's catching up to all those runners grouped a couple minutes ahead of him. But yeah, just wanted to shout out Coulson for the really good race. Then there was the drama between these 3, and I guess Olive was included in the drama as well, but not until after. She wasn't even on screen until it was wait, Olive was only 11 seconds off. But anyways, going into Bespin, Mello with us, I think Chess actually had the lead over Mello. There was a weird thing with stream delay that was going on the entire time too, since Charizite was way behind on stream delay. But going into Bespin, Charizite was behind by a pretty significant margin, which this was a surprise because honestly, well, was it a surprise? I didn't predict Charizard to go through day one, and Charizard has some big problems day one, like with some major skips. And obviously, he has the highest ceiling out of these runners, but clearly his floor is just as low as, I shouldn't say low, but, it's his floor isn't that low, but it's, around the same floor as these other runners. And he was hitting this floor in this race pretty hard. And he was well behind into Bespin after just a pretty awful run up until this point. Anytime he got a lead, he kind of lost it for one reason or another. But he needed some help in Bespin, and Mello actually with a good Bespin to end it off. And I think Mello hit first try bridge skip if I remember correctly, and pretty much cruised to that second place. Right, I think Mello passed Chest and Bespin, or there was either like a stream delay thing where Mello was visually behind and then still passed him RTA anyways, but was just LRT ahead the whole time. Either way, Mello, solid Bespin, second place. Very, very happy to see Mello qualify. I had Mello picked to win this race, of course. Second place, I'll take it, Obviously, if second gate skip didn't happen, Mello would have won, but a lot of what ifs. You can always say what ifs. But anyways, Chess vs. Charizard is where the real drama happened. Man, it's 11 minutes in, and I'm still talking about LCQ1. This is going to be a long video, folks. All right. Anyways, you're going to have to bear with my yapping. It comes down to the final platform where Chess was, unfortunately, on bridge skip, missed it for probably a good 45, maybe even a minute. And suddenly Charizard, who was fumbling at box clip, is right back in it. And by the time Chess made it across with the stream delay, it was like Charizard might have a couple attempts at this before, qualification passes. And Charizard missed it twice, got it third try, barely. And then when the dust settled, everyone's like silent because we didn't know who made it through. And Charizard, with the chess skip, bridge skip disaster, qualifies by 4 seconds, snags that last spot. And you have to wonder, if Charizard didn't get that, what would have happened? Probably, no, actually, I say what would have happened, probably would have qualified day 2. Pretty comfortably considering the times. But, a very big shock, that, Chess on bridge skip could have kept Charizard out the LCQ1 and of rung 6. Instead, Chess has to settle for, what was a really good day for him and a big PB, but not quite sub 230, not quite good enough for rung 6. Charizard just sneaks in, and during that time, Olive had a really good GTF, a really good Bespin, and only ended up 11 seconds behind, despite being over a minute behind, I believe, into CCT, the qualification spot. Well over a minute behind, I think. So that was day 1 cinema finish, and Mello, Coulson, Charizard go through. I was one off. I flipped Charizard and Olive here in my predictions. And then day 2 happened, which actually, I got all 6 right. Is what I'm happy about. Day 2, quick run through of the runners' doubt games. Obviously, only able to do 1 run during this, and it was not a very good run. Obviously it's a no reset, and doubt games is a 239, so it's, was already in a very big uphill battle to potentially qualify. Maybe it was sort of a, do or die sort of run for him where he kind of just pushed the chips all in, went really risky, and it didn't fall in his favor, which is fine. Obviously, doubt just, I know he mentioned he's just happy to even be participating in Ladder League, and, hopefully next year we'll see. Well, actually, there's definitely no confirmed Ladder League for next year, but, if we do Ladder League next year, which I sure hope we do. I'm sure Doubt will be back, and maybe in between then and now and then. That's what I'm trying to say. His PB will be significantly better, and we'll see if maybe he can auto qual, to the ladder or something like that. But yeah, the first one officially eliminated Doubt. Obviously, Staunch gone as well. This one missed his PB by 1 second. He was actually ahead most of this run, but just in the end, not able to pull it off. But it was another one of those runs where it was like, we didn't see much of Staunch. He wasn't really in it that much, but still not a bad ladder league from him. He was the lowest seed going in, so the expectations were about as low as ever, and I think he even, I don't want to say he outperformed expectation by almost PBing, but, I guess he was at expectation. I'll be brutally honest. It was about at expectation for Staunch in this ladder league. And then Chroma, who, made some noise day 1 where, a PB day 1, and then day 2, it's like, okay, if he can take that next step and get like a 33, 32, then maybe there's a chance. But Chroma just didn't really have a good run. And we didn't see much of Chroma since he kind of fell behind really early and just really wasn't able to gain momentum, and it just was never really in it. So we didn't really get to see much of Chroma. And once again, I guess Chroma staunched out. Finishing as the bottom three kind of just was expected. Their time gaps were really big compared to everyone else. So, it's not a huge surprise to me for that. But definitely a good ladder league from Chroma considering the PB. And obviously, in with a chance. Not quite there this year. Hopefully we see him back next time, though. Nolan, who is, I believe, he's been in him and Appleman have been in all three pre-ladder league qualifiers. They were preliminary matches prior. This year is at LCQ. But Nolan and Appleman, I guess I'll talk about Nolan first, since Apple had a very different journey this race than Nolan. Came off the PB with the 234 in rung one, LCQ one. And, I think the expectation was, in my brain, was, Nolan could be a sneaky qualifier here if someone fumbles in the top, I guess the three that are listed, but it wasn't really just them in this race. Of the three expected, I guess, Chess, Y2, Olive, I think were the favorites here, but Zoda coming in is kind of a real wild card in this race, which I'll get to Zoda in a second. But if anyone falters above Nolan, he could be that one taking the next step, considering what he did day one. But once again, it's a no reset race. You never know what's going to happen. Did not have a good run day two. But once again, I think this is another thing similar to Chroma, where Nolan doesn't qualify, but I'm sure he's not disappointed with his ladder league performance, considering he gets a nice PB out of it. And, obviously some good racing experience. Obviously, I know he made the ladder, I believe it was season 1. Does not make the ladder this year, but I'm sure we will see Nolan again in the future. Obviously he has been moving his PB down almost every week, it seems like. So, Nolan, I'm sure, will be back with a bang. And then we go to Appleman, which this was kind of crazy from Appleman because his time really doesn't do justice to how this run went, right? This is still a 2-minute PB for Apple, but he was well on pace to PB by 4 minutes, and he was in and out of the qualifying top 3 spots. Because I will talk about that episode 4 in LCQ2 in a minute when I get towards the top runners. But Appleman was right there with everyone, in fact, in qualification spots for most of the first half of the race, which is a bit surprising considering 237 PB. But he was just on pace the entire time, and it was kind of just an absolute disaster episode 5 that kind of made Appleman crumble in this race. I don't even know how bad it was. I'm trying to even remember his entry to 5. I don't remember what his entry time was, but Apple with a really, really unfortunate episode 5. Just kind of everything went wrong. He was up in the race the entire time, and on a commentary, I was honestly believing, we could see, because of how crazy this race is, Appleman qualify. The thing was, I know Olive won the race, but at the time, Olive was 3rd for most of the time between 6, 3, and 5, and Apple was 4th. And Apple was back and forth with Olive the entire time, catching back up within 10 seconds, falling back behind, catching back up, and then 5, Olive kind of took over that 3rd place spot. And Apple faded really, really hard. It wasn't even a fade, it was like a drop-off in episode 5 for Apple, but still, 2-minute PB for him, really solid performance. And I think almost touching that qualification spot for Apple must have been, pretty exciting throughout the race. Obviously not getting it. Oh, dude, my headset never fails to die during these videos. Just another one. Anyways, what was I yapping about? Appleman so close to getting that qualification spot, and not getting it is very, very unfortunate, but I think he'll be happy with his performance and clearly showing that potential to get a sub 230, clearly. I mean, he just competed with 3 runners who all are basically at that time. But yeah, very good race from Appleman, and I don't think his time does justice to how close he was in this race. And then we have, actually, I'll talk about Paxo, then I'll talk about Zoda. Paxo, because Paxo ended up getting 4th, but I think of the people who were, did not qualify out of 4, 5, and 6, he was the one that was kind of never really quite in it. He was always sitting in that 6th place spot. He sometimes jumped to 5th. He was jumping around with Zoda a little bit. But once again, right, Paxo, this is a 3.5-minute PB for him. Very good run. Very similar to Appleman with a 237 and then having a really good run here on day 2. And he was, right, I say he wasn't really, super likely to qualify, but he was always there, a couple missteps from people above, and Paxo was going to be. In fact, Paxo was in top 3, I believe, at one stage in episode 2 and episode 4. He was featured a lot on the stream, but really just not a great back half for Paxo is the real difference maker here. Where I think that back half kind of determines, if you have a better PB, that's where that skill gap kind of gets seen a little bit, and Paxo kind of, just faded towards the end. He kind of faded, kept fading, and it became more unlikely because episode 4 was so chaotic at the top, um, where it was like disaster, you get in the lead, disaster, get in the lead, disaster. And Paxo was right up in there, and then those disasters weren't happening for the top 3 runners in the back 3 episodes, so kind of faded off a little bit, but still really big PB. And Paxo kept running. I believe he just got a 230, sub 230 today. And let me double check that for you guys. Let me give you that exact time because I know it's very fresh in PB posts. Oh, Dr. Calvo with the PB 244.56 as we speak. 230.39. So not quite sub 230, but I think we all knew that Paxo was, at the level of, at least in practice, where he could just do that. He doesn't show in the LCQ. I think the LCQ came a little bit too early on in his TCS playing, but I think he sees through that potential right there in the race, or in the PB he just got. Like, obviously, if he got this time, he would have won LCQ2, but it's a no reset set, and I think LCQ2 happened a little too early for Paxo. Now let's talk about Zoda, because Zoda, was a real wild card for me in this race. He didn't play day 1, and I hate to be the bearer of I told you so, but I think him not playing day 1 kind of screwed him. I feel like he was running, he was still playing, the game a lot, leading up, and I think he was playing really well. He got a 228 PB the day before, which I was like, holy cow, he might even be like a favorite, going to this match, considering how much he's been playing. But the no reset environment, I think, kind of and he hadn't done a run before on the no reset on day 1. Maybe he had done some on stream, but I feel like it's always different doing a no reset on stream versus a no reset in ladder league. But he messed up God Fraud. He went down early and then came all the way back, right? He was in there in episode 4, but then right before Princess, let's just say, he was in top 3. He was there, and then suddenly Princess and DSE, the worst stretch of levels I've seen in a minute. And it was I think he had, Zach said, 5 different helmet losses that were all lost significant time in 4-4 and 4-5. And then it was just a real, oh my god, I'm just 22 minutes in. We're still talking about the LCQs. Okay. I'm gonna have to start. This is going to be well over an hour, folks. But we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, Zoda, yeah. And so that put him back behind. He just made it back from, coming back, the resilience to be down over a minute to missing pod fraud early on. And then, boom, he's right back in the mix in episode 4 that early. And then immediately loses that time again. It's so difficult to come back from. It's you take a huge, punch, you go down, and then you somehow get back up and then just take another punch to the face. And then obviously Zoda was not able to recover from that. Maybe there was, obviously late in the run, maybe some mental blocks just because, taking 2 huge hits like that, you're not going to be the most satisfied on your run. I don't think, because it's Zoda and how good he is right now, I don't think it was a mechanical issue, he wasn't good enough in the late game. I think he just, maybe the mental broke down. Just, sort of struggled in the end game, especially he probably knew his position in the LCQ was not great and needed to produce something special in the last 2-3 episodes. So, unfortunate Zoda does not make it through, which I could have seen Zoda winning this race straight up. And then that brings us to Y2 Chess and Gamer Olive. Speak on Y2, another small PB in the ladder, but it's good enough to qualify here, and pretty comfortably. By the time we got to late episode 5, the top 3 had established the pecking order. Obviously, the order within the top 3 was switching around, but it was kind of those 3 were the favorites to qualify. None of them really stumbled at the end of the day. Y2 doesn't go for GTF yet, so he didn't go for GTF and Bespin, but he, just kind of cruised through this race until the hard lock in Spaceport, losing him 2 minutes, by the way, so that could have jumped him. He could have won this race easily without that hard lock. So obviously some great resilience immediately coming back from the hard lock. I think he hard locked in Spaceport when he was in first, and then by the time we were in Carcoon, he was already back into second. So a huge, crazy just jump right back in from Y2. Obviously other people had errors, but he just good show of resilience from Y2. The big error, I guess it is technically a user error, hard lock. But that error led to a quick turnaround. Note, just shake it off mentally, and boom, right in there. And gets a 232.04. It's very, very solid from Y2. Another PB. Clearly has that potential to get a sub 230 any run now. Maybe his 6th run and his 6th PB might be that sub 230. might have to be, considering, Chess and Olive and their performances lately. Chess, who was pretty much ahead the entire time, he had a couple falters, but as soon as he got ahead in 6, it was, pretty much cruising until Echo Base, where Chess had a big boom skip error. Like, I don't know, he like messed up the warp at the end. Han kind of got stuck in the wrong spot and then warped all the way back to the previous room. Lost like 50 seconds on Echo Base, and then after that, it was still fine though for Chess. Right? He gets the Cloud City Bespin, and he pretty much just had to. He just didn't do GTF this time around. I know he didn't need it. He says he has fixed the bridge skip issue, which I trust that he did. That he did fix that, but doesn't go for it. Just nice easy non GTF Bestman. Doesn't actually, he loses the race because of that, but qualifies for round 7, which is the main goal, right? So solid race from Chess, and then Olive, who honestly, Olive was kind of in the mix of some of the disasters in 4, was kind of on that border. Had a actually terrible start again from Olive in episode 1. But then Olive kind of comes back as the race continues, and then by 4, she's right, in 3rd place in the mix. I think she was actually in 2nd at some point too, in the mix to win, even the race, but right back into the qualification spots as early as 4, just because of how crazy that was for everyone else. And then after that, there's definitely some falters for Olive in 6 and 3, obviously battling with Appleman for that 3rd spot, and then 5, she kind of just extended the gap over Appleman and everyone else who was behind. They all had their own errors, and then obviously Chess had a big error, which let Olive back into the race, and Olive was, in a spot where she definitely could have just not done GTF as well, but that's what she's comfortable with. She goes for GTF and ends up winning the race because Chess doesn't go for it. Saves like 30-some to Chess on Bespin, and not a great race from Olive once again, 2:30.08 into a 2:31.11. But wins the race, makes it to rolling 7. That's the important thing for Olive. So that was the quick LCQ recap. Holy cow, I said it was going to be a quick recap. What the? I almost feel tired from yapping. I think I just yapped for 27 minutes straight about the LCQ when I said this was going to be a quick LCQ recap. Folks, it was a great race. It was an amazing race, but dude, Anonymous is going to be even more in depth than that. So if you want to watch the actual, clips of the match and what happened and all the disasters, Anonymous will be showing that. I'm going to move on because holy cow, that was long. We're going to talk about power rankings. I'm going to give myself a breather because there's going to be a lot more yapping, and I think the yapping that I intended on doing for the predictions and power rankings was going to be more than the LCQ. But I think I ended up just covering the LCQ in a lot more depth than I needed to. I went over every runner. I guess I was supposed to talk the expectations for the ladder. I'm going to skip that because I will be talking about them in the ladder as well when I do kind of the theory and the theory bracket and the predictions. I'm going to talk about them anyway, so I'll skip that. All right, let's do power rankings. All right, so let's hope this works here. Shoutouts before I move this on. Shoutouts to Brickofet for making these graphics for me. I think they're sick. And then also another reminder that all these are in the now. If we did a race right now, what I think would happen. And it's all subjective, and it's going to be changing a lot from week to week. I think I'm going to cut off the bottom runners who get eliminated. And I think I'm still debating. I'll get some more input on it. Maybe keeping the top runner who qualifies, or maybe cutting them out. I'm not sure, but we'll definitely cut out the 2 who are eliminated every week. Anyways. Without further ado, the first power rankings, it's actually within 3 graphics. So the first one is going to be the bottom 9 in the power rankings. So boom, here's the graphic. We have a nice set of 9 here. And, I'm going to explain why I have everyone where they're at. So first of all, Y2 and the 21. Honestly, it's hard to order the last 3 really correctly, but I think I'm very biased towards what happened in the LCQ, right? I think the power rankings are extremely recency bias, and obviously Y2 actually hard locked. It probably would have won without the hard lock, but I think Chess has shown, I think Chess is finally finding his form, and Y2, I think there's a problem with not doing enough runs, right? I think this might hurt him. He might be able to sneak out of that bottom rung, but I feel like to make the next step to beat a Mellow Charizard Coulson, it's going to be really tough for him doing just the runs when his matches come up. So I'm a little worried for Y2 that, I think he needs to do more. And maybe this is my pitch for Y2 to do some more runs, because I don't think it's going to be enough to really make it very far into the ladder. In fact, I think it'll be a round 1 exit if he doesn't do a run up until if he doesn't do a run up until his race. So I'm going to put Y2 at 21. But once again, Y2 has that sky high potential that, I think you can't ignore. Obviously, he could just drop, like, that's why I'm thinking, like, power rankings could change so quick, because bro could drop, like, a 228, a 227 even, who knows? And then I will be like, okay, yeah, clearly Y2 is going to be moving up a lot. But right now, it's not there. It's not, the time isn't there right now. So I think Y2 at 21, I think it's fair for now. I think he's got a good shot in Rung 7. The Rung 7 odds you'll see are so close that it's really anyone's game in Rung 7, but I'm putting him at 21 for now. 20, I'm actually putting Gamer Olive, and this I think is going to be flipped for a lot of people. I think people would have Olive over Chess typically, but honestly, I'm not, like, I think Chess would have beaten, like, obviously Chess beat Olive the first LCQ, and then Chess would have beat Olive if he went for GTF and LCQ too. But I think Olive's having some struggles in the early game that are pretty apparent in both LCQ races that I'm a little bit worried about in the ladder. Like, I'm a little bit worried for Olive in the ladder when it comes to, getting a good start, because at this point, Chess and Y2, I feel like can make some big mistakes, potentially, to let Olive in the match if Olive has another bad start, but now it's you gotta win instead of top 3. So I'm a little bit worried that, she could fall too far behind. Then again, if Olive has a good start, I would then favor her probably the rest of the race, But it's been some rough starts that have kind of pushed me away from favoring against Chess, who has shown some really good consistency over both LCQ runs. And I think Chess has done a little bit better in the no reset setting than Olive. Olive has done some streams of no resets, and they've been okay, not great. I haven't really seen too much of it, so I can't, like, judge it too much. Like, the times, I see the final times, right? I don't see the entire run for those streams that Olive is doing, so I can't judge it too much, but I think in the no reset setting, I'm favoring Chess right now a little bit, and I think Chess is also, like, improving really quickly because he was gone from the game from so long, missing a ton of strats, comes back, and now he's finally seeing that time, those chunks of time come off. So I think I'm going to slightly favor Chess over Olive, and that's kind of, I guess I kind of gave my pitch for Chess right then and there, as to why I have him at the 19. And I still think there's, like, a pretty big jump, right? Even though he finishes close to Charizard in LCQ1, I think there's a pretty big jump between those Rung 7 runners and then the next runners in Rung 6. And then that brings us to the Charizard at 18, which, this, I made these power rankings, I guess, a day ago. So you might be like, why is Charizard at 18? He's got a 223. And to that, I'll say I made these a day ago. I think if I had to reorder it a little bit now, I would put Charizard at 17. I'm not putting him over Coulson yet. But anyways, Charizard is interesting because I feel like he is going to be the most sporadic runner in Ladder League. I think it's going to be really difficult for Charizard to, like, if he's, like, trying to, I mean, I don't think top 8's going to happen for Charizard, but if he does have top 8 ambitions, the average is not how he's going to make it in. Because I think Charizard's going to be super jumpy this entire Ladder League. I think he's either going to have to pull out somehow the best time and, later on, or miraculously qualify. I think out of these 3, Coulson, Mellow, and Charizard, he has the biggest potential. Like, the biggest potential to get a higher spot. But right now, if we did a big race right now, Charizard could drop a 223, Charizard could drop a 230. I don't know. So I'm a little skeptical about Charizard's consistency, which Ladder League is very much a consistency. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So I guess if I did it now after the 223, I'd put him over Mellow, but still I'm not going to put him over Coulson, because Coulson, I think, has shown that consistency lately. He's a bit more consistent, I believe, than Charizard, and he also showed the PB improvement late with the 225. So I just think Coulson is more likely in a race right now to go out and get something close to that 225 as PB. Charizard is more likely to be, who knows, anywhere over the board. That's why I think consistency is the reason I put Charizard low. To quickly speak on Mellow, the LCQ was fine, right? There was probably not Melo's best performance. Melo probably wasn't happy about it. Obviously, Gate 2 caused Melo to probably not win that race entirely. But, I think Melo, once again, I think he is just kind of on the cusp of a big PV. And whether he realizes that before his match or not, and then ends up improving upon that and has a good match, we're yet to see. But the reason I think I would move him below Charizard right now is just because the Charizard improvement on the PV, and I think that potential for Charizard's a little bit higher than Melo right now, but I could see Melo just straight up beat Charizard and Coulson in a race as well. I think he could, but I'm going to favor Coulson and Charizard over him both right now in a race. Simply, I guess, one, considering PBs, and I think both Coulson and Charizard have a little bit higher of a ceiling than Melo currently. Anyways, that kind of covers rung 6. I'm kind of just going in rung order here, because I feel like it's kind of separated by that right now, but the next set of people, it's not really separated by, I mean, it starts to get, you're right, you don't see Colton up here. Colton's in rung 5. He is not up here. I think for obvious reasons, he's on a future page. We have Quasar first, and then Phantom, and I think these two can be grouped together because their PBs are relatively close. Quasar with a slightly better PB, 223.00. Phantom's got a 224.28. And I think the reasoning why I guess the simple reason why I put Phantom over Quasar right now is Quasar hasn't played that much lately. He's played a little bit. I saw him do a run today. I don't know if he ended up finishing it. He did a stream a couple weeks ago. Didn't really make it very far. I think he's had like 3 sessions in the past month or something like that. Not a lot of sessions for TCS for Quasar. So I'm a little bit skeptical, and especially because his Sob is not amazing. I'm a little bit skeptical about how close he's going to be able to run to Sob. Like, right, he has a 223 PB, but I don't think he's going to run very close to it in Ladder League, at least initially. This is what I'm saying initially, right? It's all in the now. So, Quasar could definitely realize that and get PBs in Ladder League later on, but in the now, I'm a little worried with how much he's played. And Phantom, at least when he hasn't played that much either, but from what I've seen, is he's posted multiple 224s in Off Topic. My mother. He has been improving, I should say not improving. He's been playing around his PB. And when Quasar streamed and I watched it a little bit, it wasn't really quite close to PB. It wasn't there yet. Phantom not playing as much, so it's a little bit tough to judge, but I'm going to judge based on those 2 no resets, or 2 times that were close to PB, those 224s from Phantom. And if he was able to do that in the race, I think he probably beats Quasar. I might slightly favor him over Quasar in the race right now. But once again, that race is on Saturday, so a lot can happen between Tuesday and Saturday, so suddenly Quasar could be a big favorite out of nowhere over Phantom. Alright, and I guess because we're going 9-6-6 on the graphics, so we have to talk about, I guess, in the next grouping of players, kind of. There's not really a cutoff that shows a grouping of players, but I think Laser is my 13 here, and you might be a little surprised to see Laser at the 13, but a lot of it is recency bias. I think Laser, once again, has a really good potential in this game. He's really good at LEGO speedrunning, and obviously I think he has the potential to, get sub 2, maybe not now, definitely not now, but like sub 220 and beyond in this game, if he keeps playing, right? But Laser just hasn't been playing that much. He's been derusting. That's the thing. He's been derusting lately, doing episode 4 RTAs all day. But yeah, he's been derusting and hasn't really shown his skill in a full run yet. He's done a couple of them that have not been very good. So I'm not really favoring him too much on the power rankings currently before the first week. I think that rung 4 match is going to be absolute cinema, but I think odds-wise, I would not favor him over Daime or EJP Man right now, just because he's derusting, and EJP Man and Daime have been in the groove of playing for a little bit now. So I think Laser will get up there. Right now, I'm putting him at 13. It's my reasoning. And I know a lot of people like that Laser under 12.5 pick, which I'll do placements later, but I just don't, I'm not going to say anything about that yet, but I just don't think week 1 he's going to be quite at that level yet. Anyways, let's move on to our next power rankings list, which is going to be the 12 through the 7. And this is a very subjective area where you could you can mix and match a lot of people here. And at the 12, I'm going Daime, which I think is very interchangeable with EJP Man right now. I think right? I think the reason I put Daime below EJP Man is I think EJP Man's slightly more consistent than Daime right now. I know he just got the 222, and I think like ceiling wise, I think Daime currently is a higher ceiling than EJP Man. But when I watch Daime run, it's a little bit like inconsistent on the gameplay. Like I see lots of levels played at like a 219 and better like level of gameplay from Daime. A lot. I see a lot of levels like that. But then I see like bro plays Theed at like a 215, 214 level. But then I see levels from Daime that are like, what happened? His runs just disappear, disintegrate in a second. And I think that like it's kind of not exactly like Charizard. I think Daime is a lot more consistent than Charizard, but he kind of has that like ability where it's just like up down up down up down. I don't really know what to expect from Daime, which is why I'm a little worried that like one falter in a race could snowball into more uh, problems. So I think the ceiling for Daime is a lot higher than I think most people have him at. And my ceiling for him is like I think Bro could get a 219, but I just don't see it happening soon with how spiky gameplay he has. He can play levels really well, and then he could suddenly drop the ball in one level, and then the run's done. So that's why I'm putting Daime at 12. EJP Man at 11. I think his ceiling's really good too. I just think he's a little more consistent than Daime, but I don't think he's quite to the level of like a. I don't know, I keep looking over here because the graphics over here. So I guess pardon where the fuck I'm looking right now in the video. My eye track. If I had Chess's eye tracker, y'all be like, "What the heck's going on?" Let me look at the graphic and talk to you guys. Wazip, I think, is a little bit above the level of, or I guess, yeah, I was gonna say EJP is not quite on the level of a Wazip right now because I think Wazip's ceiling's higher than EJP Man. I think Wazip's consistency is a little bit better than EJP Man. But I think it's fair to I think I'm gonna favor EJP Man slightly in his rung 4 matchup, just because his recent gameplay has been looking good. He's been on pace to beat his PB a few times now. He's been running a lot. So I'm gonna slightly favor EJP Man in that race, but I think once again I'll get to rung 4. That's anyone's match. But yeah, I'm gonna go EJP Man 11, and that brings us to Wazip at 10, which Wazip is an interesting story going into Ladder League, where he, has been kind of stuck at this 221 PB that he got before his Japan trip, and I think it's weird to be mentioning Wazip's Japan trip in a LCQ video, or not, I meant a Ladder League video, but it's pretty relevant because he was, getting good times, and then he got his 221 5X, and then he went on a trip to Japan for like 20 days or something. I don't know exactly the timeline of that, but for a while. Came back, and honestly, I think his level of gameplay is way higher than before the trip. And I think you'll probably agree with that. His level of gameplay is a lot higher than even then, but his PB hasn't improved, and it's been a lot of, I think, when I watch Wazip streams, it's been a lot of, like, getting through the early game, but then kind of struggling in the mid game, and then I don't want to call it snowballing, but I have seen a couple of, like, for example, today I was on a stream with back-to-back Junlin, Space Fort kind of disasters. DSE has been a little weird for him, but it's always something new every run, and I feel like I can relate to that in a sense, where it's always something new, right? You practice a level, you're good at the level, and then something else is a problem. So it's really hard to judge Wazip in the tournament overall, but I think right now his gameplay deserves to be above EJP Man, Daime, Laser, but isn't quite at where I would put like someone like Justin or Colton, who are both very specific cases right now, but I think he's in a fair spot at 10 at the moment. And I think we could see a Wazip that could make top 8 this tournament. We could see a Wazip that goes out in 13th this tournament. I don't know what to expect. I think week 1 will be a little bit telling of like maybe this is his first Ladder League match ever, right? First tournament match. So it's going to be a little bit different for him. But I think it'll be telling, like, if he just puts on like a decent showing week 1, no matter what the result is, like win, second place, third, that final time I think would tell a lot. Just like maybe where he stands, maybe nerve wise, or just like in a no reset setting. I don't want to say judges that. Like, you can't judge everything off of one race, of course, but I think Y2 is or not Y2. Wazip is an interesting situation where, I think he can go anywhere in Ladder League. I think he could go top 8. I think he could completely fall off. Anyways, I'm yapping a little bit too much. I'm going to go on to this next grouping of 8 and 9 here, which I think maybe some people think is controversial, but Colton and Wii Super. And like I said, there's so much recency bias in this. The reason I have Justin below Colton is simply because Justin hasn't been playing that much, and he hasn't done a run. Colton has been playing more than probably anyone else in the entire ladder. So there's like definitely no reasoning why in the now, if Colton and Justin race right now, I think Colton's favored. Justin, I think, is an overall more consistent player than Colton when he plays, but Justin's probably not he's probably not gonna be, fully there. Yeah, he hasn't played some of these levels in a long time. So I'm definitely favoring Colton over him in a race right now. Like Colton could get a 222, and I think Colton might. Yeah, I think he still might win with like a 222, which is 3 minutes off his PB. So I mean, I think it's fairly simple. I don't want to yap about it too long because we are 45 minutes in. But yeah, I got Colton over Justin for now. I think this is very due to change once the ladder starts. Give Justin a week or two, and he'll be fine. Trust me, Justin is a big threat for top 8. I think he's obviously favored to be that 8 seed or better right now, qualify as a top 8 player than not. But at the moment, I'm going to give the edge to Colton in the power rankings because Justin's not playing right now a lot. At least he's been derusting a little. No full run. Colton's been improving really quickly, and Colton's been playing a lot. All right, and then I guess there's another grouping cut off, but it's going to be me. I'm putting myself at the 7 right now. And I think, I'm very close as next grouping of guys I have on the list in our top 6, but I just don't think I'm quite there yet. I think if I'm not going to pull up the TCS Sum of Best sheet right now, and Sum of Best does not mean anything, but I think everyone's ceiling above me is slightly higher right now. I have like a 14 2x Sob right now. I think most people who are similar times or times just a little bit low in the 217 range are like in the 213 high 213 Sobs, which doesn't really matter, but I think it means a little bit, right? Slightly higher ceiling, maybe a slightly better average than me. So I'm going to slightly favor everyone else. I think I do have a little bit of fault in potentially, like, if I think I'm a little streaky in the fact where if I get a good early game, I'll just have a good run. I think you have to, like, I will say this straight up. If I have a good early game, watch out because I'll probably end up with a pretty solid time, and that could upset, almost anyone. If I have a bad episode 1, and I'm not meaning disaster backwards pod race, but, like, if I just have a meh episode 1, like, I mess up lap 3 God Fraud, or I have a really, like, a feed disaster or something, I'm not really liking the outlook of the entire race for myself, I think I've been getting better at 4 and 6 as well, so, like, I think I can recover a good bit even from a bad early game, but the 3 and 5 on me currently, I'm not loving. So I think that's why I think I just slightly will put myself below everyone else. I think I'm still in that grouping of, the next people up, who I'm going to be showing, but I just don't think I'm quite at the level yet that I would put myself ahead of any of them. But I think right in the mix, right? I don't think I think I could beat anyone on any given day. Maybe not a Zach, maybe not a Dragon right now, but I think I can beat anyone in the middle of that, I guess I should say. Anyways, all right. I'll stop yapping about myself and let's see the power ranking for the top I almost said 7, top 6. And boom, here we go. And starting off at 6, we have Anorak. And I think this is a fair spot for him. I think compared to the runners above, I think there's like a little bit of a gap. Not a big gap whatsoever. Once again, I think Anorak can beat anyone on any given day sort of idea, but I just think his like average, I guess, is going to be, suffering. When I see Anorak go on runs, I think he runs a lot, and I think he gets on good paces, but I think when I watch Bricko run, he gets on consistently better paces, and I think when I watch Jared run, he gets on a little bit more consistently better paces. And I could say the same thing about Anorak and myself as well. I think Anorak consistently gets on a little bit better paces. But I think it's just really subjective at this point, and I think I'm going to put Anorak at 6 just slightly. It's once again, there's not much margin between these picks anymore, but I'm going to put Anorak at 6, and I guess, it's a little bit of a surprise looking at the next pick, Jared, and I'm sure some people will definitely disagree with this, because I think you could put Jared as high as 2, reasonably, in a power ranking right now, and I think he maybe even deserves it, considering how he's been playing lately. I think my reasoning, I guess, I did a race against Jared today, and he played really well, and I probably would switch the power rankings up if I made him after the race, but I think Jared at the 5, my main reasoning is Jared he's not an inconsistent player by any means, but I think he's very early game reliant. Like, I think that I see the same thing in me as well, where if he gets a good early game, he's probably going to get a good run. Obviously, Jared, I think, has some falters where, like, sometimes he can have blow-up splits kind of out of the blue. Like, I think compared to the 4 people ahead of Jared, it's more likely for Jared to kind of just lose a minute on a split, which doesn't happen, or like 30 seconds, I should say. 30 seconds is more realistic than like a minute. But like Jared could kind of just lose a little bit more time more often than the people had him, right? We're dealing such thin margins, so it's so hard to like say like Jared is like worse or better than these players because it's like we're dealing with such thin margins between everyone. I like, for example, I favor Bricko slightly over Jared just because I think Bricko has less of a chance of having us like a blow up level. And by a blow up level, I mean like 20, 30 seconds because we're dealing with such thin margins now. Jared obviously has, I believe, like probably has the best early game in the community right now. Maybe Zach or Jared, very similar level, right? But Jared might just have the best early game in the community. But that does come with, Jared. I guess there's a reason why Jared didn't PB for a full year, even with those really good early games. And he had a big PB and a really good PB, but I see that and I'm like, I'm not entirely sure how Jared will perform against, like, for example, in this Run 1 race. I think he could win, but then again, I think he could lose by like 4 minutes. Like I think 4 minutes is an exaggeration, like 2 minutes. I don't know where Jared is like consistency wise. I'm a little nervous if he has a bad early game that he could just have a really bad run. That's my worry with Jared, and that's why I put him at 5 for now. And definitely has I think he's the number one person here that him and maybe Charles has the ability to just like move up really quick based on their week 1 performance. Even if Jared were to lose, I think at the time that he puts up is going to be a real indicator. But I think Jared, could definitely go up a lot. But for now, I'm just on the worries of consistency. So I yapped a lot about that because I feel like I have to justify it so much because it's such fine margins. Like I could easily put Jared in the 2 and give a reasoning. But it's just like, yeah, like it's hard to, now I'm talking about Bricko, and now it's like, why is Bricko slightly lower than Evan? I think Evan's ceiling, right? I think Evan's ceiling slightly higher than Bricko, but Bricko I think is one of the most consistent runners in the top 6 here. Like I think Zach is probably the most consistent, and I think there's a reason why he's at 1. But I think Bricko might be there at number 2 in terms of overall consistency, because whenever I watch Bricko, it's like very rare for me to see Bricko just completely lose a ton of time on one split. I think Bricko like really has it dialed down for like I always see him on a pacer. He does play a lot, mind you, to get that consistency, but like I just overall am confident with Bricko in a race. Like I know he won't like okay, I don't want to go so far. I know he won't choke and then I'm gonna jinx him for week 1. I know he can close out a race really well. He's really good at the late game, which I think is a real big importance in races. But yeah, I think obviously I can't really put him over Evan because Evan, once again, you're dealing with someone who can play at the level of literally like a 216. And he gets like, I think Evan's like one of the best players in the game even now, like after he took a really long break and then came back. And I think Evan could jump up to 1 on the power ranking in no time. So that's why I think the ceiling reason is why I put Evan over Bricko, and I think Evan on average is going to beat Bricko in a race right now. And that's the same thing with Jared, where it's like I think Jared could also beat Evan in a race right now, but I will probably slightly favor Evan. Like if Evan, Jared, Bricko was a rung, I think Evan would be the favorite, and then Jared and Bricko would be awfully close. I think they would almost be even odds at that point, but I think I would slightly favor Evan over both of them in a race right now. But yeah, Evan obviously very, very good in tournaments as well as another factor to mention for him. Like he just is able to, I guess, under pressure play really, really well, which, is he's won a ladder league before. He didn't participate in the last ladder league, so who knows, he could have won 2 ladder leagues in a row. So I've just really have been impressed with Evan's turn performance in the historical sense, but I think he just plays really well under pressure, and I think I'm going to slightly give him a gap over Bricko and Jared. Now talking about Dragon, who I put at the number 2. I would say Dragon, right? I feel like every single time I'm justifying why I put someone else over someone else. And maybe I should justify like why I put him at the 2. I think Dragon is the fastest player in the game right now. I think his ceiling is higher than almost anyone else. Maybe even higher than Zach right now. I think consistency... Excuse me. I've been yapping so much. It's been 54 minutes of straight yapping. Okay. Consistency-wise, I would definitely put Zach over Dragon, but I think Dragon's ceiling is the highest in the game right now. Like, some of the times this dude puts him in practice segments are ridiculous. So like there's no doubt that I think Dragon is like in terms of fast runner, like I think he's the fastest runner. But obviously he doesn't it takes more than the fastest runner to have record and, win a tournament. But I think definitely, he's the fastest right now. His consistency is not bad, right? He wouldn't be up here if his consistency sucked, right? So his consistency is good. I don't think quite at the level of Zach or even like a Bricko, but I think he's really fast. I think he's got the potential to have like absolute pop off races where he gets really close to PB, and that would definitely be enough to like win against 99% of every like the bracket. So I think it's very reasonable to put Dragon at 2 right now. We'll see how he does week 1. It's a very tough matchup, obviously, for him, Zach and Jared. I think that race can go any which way, but I think I will put Dragon at the 2 for now, very justifiably, just because of his recent performances, his PB, and how good he is at the game. Okay, and then we talk at number 1 at Zach. I don't want to talk too much about it because I've obviously been yapping so much. It's 55 minutes in, and I'm like, there's still so much I want to do in this video. But I think everyone on Charlie's initial power ranking, he sent like a thing out for like a sheet, and every single person put Zach at 1, which I think is a little like it makes sense, right? It makes sense, but I think Zach has more cracks than people might anticipate, right? There's no guarantee because his PB is like 30 seconds faster than Dragon's, about a minute faster than where Evan and Jared are. A little bit. So it's like everyone's still really close. I think Zach is the best runner right now by far, and I think he is the favorite right now. But I think it's definitely due to change, especially if Zach has a bad week 1. I think he's the most consistent runner. That's why I put him, on number 1. And I think, that's the most important part about a tournament is playing consistently over it. And I have no doubt that Zach will do well in this tournament. It's just a matter of like how far will he go? Will he win it all? Will he get to the final? Will he get to the semifinal? Will he get the 1 seed? But I think it's very justified to put Zach at 1 right now. I don't want to, yap about it too long. But so like once again, such thin margins between everyone here, and I think I won't hesitate to really change up this power ranking for the top 6, even 7 with myself to, just match how the ladder's been going. But yeah, that's my current power rankings. That was a really long segment. Wow. And I'm sorry if, I once again, all of it's subjective. So, don't take it too harshly if I put you lower than you think you deserve, because it's very much due to change based on performances. Whew. Okay. Holy cow. Okay. Let's do predictions, folks. Oh, oopsies. Let me, actually, good thing I didn't put this up immediately. Let me get to, I was going to do, okay, let's do it on the theory bracket for week 1. So let me pull up a theory bracket. Holy yap session is this. Okay. Let's do this. Not doing placements yet, but let's go to ladder. Let me close one of these. Okay. And then theory. And let's talk about week 1. These are going to be my week 1 picks. I'm going to make them through this. Hopefully you guys can see this. Oh yeah, it should show up just fine. Where do I want to start this? Do I want to do this in race order, or do I want to do this in wrong order? Let's do it in wrong order. Let's go top to bottom. And then I'll fill in my race picks based on these, and then I will do placement predictions. And holy cow, this video is going to be like an hour 30, folks. This video is going to be like an hour 30. So if you're still here, if you're listening to me right now, just because, and no one's going to say this in the comments, drop like I was here in comments. In comments if you're hearing this right now. Because, holy cow, you just survived 58 minutes of me yapping. Drop an I was here. When I see 0 I was here's in the chat, in the comment section, I won't care. You know what? I don't expect people to listen to all this. We're on to predictions now. All right, wrong one. We actually had a wrong one match today in call, and Jared did end up winning it. I'm not going to take I do take that into account, but I'm not going to take that crazy into account. I think still here the favorite is Zach. I don't think it's by as much as the predictions may say, but I think the favorite here is Zach for sure. I think this race is going to come down to what happens in the early game. How does that early game transform? Because I think Jared has a good early game. I think he could win. I think if Jared has if Jared has a good early game, he could win. If he has a bad early game, he's probably not going to win. Wow, great analysis there, sir. But in all seriousness, I think Jared is really a momentum player, and that could be a good thing. That could be a bad thing. But I think with a good early game, Jared can fly. With a bad early game, he might not even be in this race for a second. So it's really hard for me to place exactly what happened because so much is hinging on that early game. But I think I'm gonna have to go with the safe pick of Zach winning. Once again, Zach is the most consistent runner, and I think he's just gonna show that dominance week one. And everyone's gonna be like, "Wow, that's crazy." When why does it autofill Jared to wrong two and Dragon to wrong one? Anyways, I'm gonna go Zach to win this race, and I'm gonna do a little bit. I think that it's gonna be a close one. I think Zach's gonna come in with like a mid 218 or something, maybe low 218. And I think Jared's going to be right behind him. I think Jared's going to take second here. I think Jared's going to have a good race. I think Jared's going to start off ladder well. And I think I'm going to really regret putting at 5 in my power rankings. And I'm going to be moving up very swiftly. And I'm not saying that Dragon's going to have a bad race here. Obviously, for him to lose to a 2, whatever I said, 2, maybe Zach would have 217. Like a low 218, and then Jared's right behind him. Right, that wouldn't be a good run for Dragon. But I think week one, he might falter a little bit. I think, his consistency is a little bit below the others, not by much, right? He's so good at the game. I think he just a little bit of surprise. Dragon loses this race, but I think it's going to be close, and I think he's going to have the third. I think Dragon will lose this with, the third best time of the entire week. I think it's really hard to, say any of these players are really bad, but this is what I'm going to go for week one. Yeah, I don't think any of these guys are going to do particularly bad in this race. I think the other rungs could see disaster because it's week one. You never know what's going to happen week one. But I'm going to say rung one is going to be the best race in terms of skill showcase, I guess. I mean, obviously it's rung one, but I think they're going to show why they've been rung one. And I think the rest of the ladder is going to see some craziness, some crazy drama, some lead flips, some big mistakes. That's what rung one's going to be, I think. I'm going to lock that in for now. And I'm going to start talking about rung 2 because this... I'm not going to say this is my match of the week. I think I have another answer for that. I'm going to have a match of the week every week, just like last year. And I think rung 2 is a very good race. This could go another 3... just like rung 1, 3 different directions. I think I'm going to lean Bricko, actually, to win rung 2. And I think my reasoning for this is I don't know what Evan's been doing for gameplay lately. And Bricko and Evan in that test, I know this was a test race a long time ago, so it's hard to, but we're really close in that race. And Bricko definitely has the potential to stick with Evan. And I think I'm going to slightly favor Bricko over Evan in a race like this. Just because Evan, I don't know what gameplay he's been doing lately for TCS. He might have been he hasn't been running that much. And Bricko has been grinding. So I'm going to take Bricko to win. I almost want to put Anorak in second. I almost do, but I don't think I will because it's really hard to pick against Evan getting last place, right? He actually did get last place his first match of Ladder League in Season 1, but right, he had a soft lock. And I think it would set up a Cinema rung 1 week 2. So I'm going to go with Evan to get second, and I think Anorak will have a respectable third place. I think Anorak is a little bit below the level of Bricko and Evan, not by much, just a little bit. So I'm going to go Anorak at third, not by much, and I think he will quickly get out of rung 3 next week, no problems. Anyways, myself, We Super Wazip. This is kind of a interesting matchup because, right, you're getting me and Wazip, who've been playing a lot, versus Justin, who hasn't been playing a lot. And I think there's like a minute 30 PB difference between me and Justin, and you have like a 2-minute PB difference between Justin and Wazip. So it's kind of all over the place here. I think my consistency right now is going to make it very tough for Justin and Wazip. And I think I'm going to, with a half decent race, I think I can beat both of their PBs in a race. And right now I've had 2 runs back to back that, right, I got to work on my late game, but, both were easily on pace to beat their PBs into 5. Obviously, I've had some issues a little bit lately, but, a little bit of fixing. And even with that, I still got like a low 220 today, which is like 20 seconds off Justin's PB. And Justin's going to be coming back with his first, I guess the intel here is Justin won't be doing a full run before this race, according to him, right? If he does do a run, don't blame me. He told me that. So that's why I think I'm going to go with a little bit of an upset here with not really a big upset considering. But I'm gonna go. I win. Wazip gets second. Justin gets third. No leapfrog from me here. I'm not. I don't think I will be beating Evan's time. So I think that's going to be kind of the makings of that rung 3 race. I think it'll be a little bit of an upset saying that Wazip's going to beat Justin. But I just don't, I'm not really high on Justin right now because he hasn't done much. I think I'll be a lot higher on Justin later on in this ladder, but I'm going to give myself and Wazip the edge over Justin. And then I'm going to give myself the edge over Wazip. I think there's too big of a PB difference to overcome a week 1 race right now. And I think I have a lot more experience than Wazip in tournament matches. Obviously, it's a no reset race, anything can happen, but I feel like it would take a pod race disaster for this one to flip any other way. Alright. Rung 4, and this is what I'm going to call the game of the week, the match of the week, because this one is going to be very exciting. Two people, their PBs are separated by like 13 seconds, or something ridiculous. And it's going to be really tough to pick this one. I think Daime by far has the best early game of these 3 runners. And I'm actually going to go off on this is my hot take. I think Daime is going to have a really good early game. And then I think he's going to start struggling. But I think that struggle is going to come with other people struggling. And I think Daime is actually going to win this race. I don't think there'll be actually, I definitely don't think there'll be a leapfrog. Actually, that's not completely unrealistic. I don't think there'll be a leapfrog, but I think Daime is going to take this race. I think he's on, like, decent form right now. Daime, obviously, like, his race mentality might not be the best because of how, like, the snowballing effect that I was talking about earlier. But I think Daime wins this. I just have this gut feeling that Daime is going to win it. I think he might, I'm almost going to say he PBs and wins it. I think I'm always going to say he PBs and wins it. I'm going to go, it's tough. I think EJ Pinkman has great long-term value in this competition, but I'm going to feel a little bit of a shocker. My great friend EJ Pinkman is going to lose this race. I think it'll be a little bit of a shocker week 1. I'm going to go Laser second. I think that's just a pure, like, guess. This is honestly just a pure guess because anyone can take this race. This is the greatest three-way race, closest PBs we've ever seen in Ladder League. And I think all these guys have been playing a similar amount recently, right? Laser's still de-rusting, but he's been playing a lot. I'm just gonna give this is just a shot in the dark, really. I don't want to give too much reasoning behind it because it's really hard to reason when everyone's so close like this. And I gave a lot of reasonings earlier, and my voice is getting tired from yapping an hour and 7 minutes straight. Usually these like videos were like an hour plus when I had another person yapping for half the time. Whew. Ladder League just so exciting, isn't it? And we haven't even gotten to placements. I completely respect someone who skips around the video. In fact, drop another comment if you're somehow at this point in the video and say I hate Grievous in the comments, or I hate 3-3. I hate 3-3 or I hate Grievous in the comments if you are somehow here at this point, and you will get a prize of I like your comment, because I don't really think I can give you another prize. Anyways. Okay, rung 5. This one is the biggest PB margin between one runner and the others in the entire week 1. But Colton, Quasar, Phantom. And I think this race, I think the outcome, I'm not going to say it's going to be a shock outcome, but I think the way it happens, I think Colton's going to have a little bit of a stumble race 1 here. I think he's going to stumble. I don't think he's going to fall. I think it's going to be like a 223 or maybe even a 224, and it's going to be like a wake-up call to Colton, like, whoa, okay, that was not supposed to happen. He's still going to win the race. I think he's, like, just levels ahead of Quasar and Phantom right now. But it'll be like a lock-in moment for Colton. And I actually do think, no, with that being said, he probably does not leapfrog. He stumbles into a leapfrog. Whoopsie, I meant that. I think the leapfrog will happen. Because I think the race in rung 4 is just not going to be like... I think there's going to be so many mistakes. I think there's going to be like a crazy back and forth race. And I think even a Colton stumble will be enough to beat second place in that race. Which does kind of suck for Laser considering he gets leapfrog, but I guess better than being in rung 5. Which sets up kind of a crazy rung 4, by the way. But I think Colton actually will leapfrog. I think that's not a super hot take. But I think it'll be a stumble leapfrog, you know, like a, hey, that wasn't that good of a race for me in Colton's brain, but he'll be like, I leapfrogged, I guess, you know, it's a good thing. Anyways, then we have Quasar and Phantom. And I think just I'm gonna same reasoning. I kept yapping about this in the power rankings too, but I think I'm gonna slightly favor Phantom because that consistency, that little bit, the more recent consistency from Phantom, and the less playing from Quasar. So I'm gonna go Phantom second, Quasar third, and then that leaves us with rung 6, which will be Cinema. Again, Coulson versus Charizite rivalry continues. Mello is there as well with a good shot at winning. This is another race that I think is similar to rung 4. Dude, I feel like, dude, okay, just a quick pause before I do this. I felt like I was like, my idea was to put basically like, you know, a little bit of energy into the recap and the power rankings and put all my energy into predictions. But man, I'm like so ready to get this video like wrapped up that I'm like, my energy, all the energy I wanted for this section, I feel like isn't there right now. I'm gonna have to think of a better like formatting to this video in the future. Maybe keep recaps super short, and then refer you to anonymouses if you want that in-depth recap. Because the predictions, I think I'm not talking about it enough. I didn't want to give a reasoning too much for that rung 4 match. I guess you heard a lot of like the power rankings is a good section where you can hear a lot of it because I'm still at yapping level 100. All right, Coulson, Mellow, Charizite. This is such a good race. This is such a good race. I think what's gonna happen is people are going to be way too high on Charizite because of the 223. And I think he gets away with the promotion here. I think he gets away with a second place. But I don't think that he wins this. And I don't think he gets leapfrogged either. I think he gets away with a promotion, but he loses to his main rival, Coulson. And I think Coulson mogs him a little bit there. I think he wins. And I just think Mello, I just think, honestly, this is once again not a real reasoning, but I just don't think he has a good race here. I think it's, you know, he did play the LCQ, so, right. I mean, obviously Coulson Charizard did too. So I think he, like, you know, has a little bit of experience now in a tournament setting, but I just don't feel that Mello is at, like, right, Charizard 223, Coulson 225, Mello has the 227. I think that PB gap just might show here. And, like, Mello's going to probably have to be on a near PB level run in a no reset here, which is definitely possible to have a chance, though. And I think maybe Coulson and Charizard do better than Mello's PB. Potentially. I think we're going to see a good race here. I think this will be one of the races that, like, obviously, considering their PBs, there will be mistakes made, but, like, I feel like there will be, like, craziness. Like, I think these runners are going to play well, is, I guess, my point. I think all three of them are going to play well, but I think Charizard and Coulson are just that little bit of level higher than Mello right now. So that's the order I'm going with. No leapfrog from Coulson there. And that brings us to our final race, Olive, Chess, Y2. And I think right off the bat, and I think I've verbalized this to a couple of people, I think I'm really a Chess believer this year. I think Chess is going to win this race. And I think it might be like he gaps him. I think Chess is going to swing here with a big PB. And this is, like, once again, I would love to get big reasonings because now I'm basically at the point of the predictions where I'm so, like, out of it. I've been out for an hour straight that, like, I can't give good reasoning. I swear I do have a good reason for picking Chess here. I said it earlier in the video, but I think he has been really good in the no reset setting. I think he's been upping his consistency every rung. I think his ceiling is higher than ever. You know, like, obviously, of course it's higher than ever, right? It's always improving. But, you know, I think he came back to the game. It was a little bit of a stumble at first, but he's been running a lot. He did mention to me he wanted to do 3 runs before his match on Friday. So I think Chess is going to improve even more before that match. And if not, at least up his consistency. I think Chess is in a good spot. I think the woes from the, unless Olive does a lot more runs, I think the woes from the LCQ might hurt Olive here. And I actually think Olive's going to lose because I think Y2 might put up a PB again. I think Y2 is going to go out of this tournament with a PB, which is funny enough. I think he's going to get like a 230, 231. And I think Chess is going to get like a 228, high 228. I think it's a bold prediction, especially, but I just think, like, Olive's level right now is, like, in the no reset setting is not as good as Chess's. And obviously, those were at bad times for Olive, those races. But obviously, the times that I see from her streams as well, I think Chess is just a little bit better consistency on average than Olive's been. And I think Chess is due for a big PB as well. And considering how much he plans on running, I'm gonna back him. And then Y2, I just think he's really good, and I think he's got a really high ceiling, but I just don't see him doing enough to quite win the match. I think he'll PB. I think he will. I think he'll kind of get a run, basically, where it's like, oh, if he didn't soft block in space, we'll get that low 230, maybe even sneak a 229. But I think I just have a little bit too much belief in Chess right now. I think it'll be a good performance from Y2, but I think Chess will do enough to get over the line here. I guess, wow, that was a lot of yapping. And I have no idea how many points each person I picked is worth in week 1. It's time to go see that real quick under the predictions. As you can see here, I guess I already picked Zach in the example video I made for predictions, so you can see he's already picked. So that would leave me with a Daime who is actually worth the most amount of points, which I almost a little bit disagree with. I think Laser should be worth a little bit more. I'm going to go Daime. I'm going to go... Who'd I pick? Chess, who is the favorite. I'm going to go Coolison, who is also the favorite. Colton, which I think is a safe pick. Myself, and Brico. I think it's a good little lineup of picks here. And one Leapfrog week 1 goes to Colton. I think it's a very safe prediction, right? I don't think I'm going completely bold with that. I don't think there's anything crazy bold. Dude, I almost feel like I should leave the placements for another video because it could use so much yapping. But I will do them now because I think I need to. I'm not going to make another video between now and when Rung 1 starts tomorrow, so I got to do them, right? I got to do them. All right. So what I'm going to avoid first and foremost, I think some people are doing it. It's like a double down tactic, right? You either pick Zach 1 seed and the under, or you pick like, like for example, Chess to win in the under, or like Chess to win and then Olive over, Y2 over. I don't want to double down. I don't want to double down on those picks right now. What I will do, like I think I'm going to do a little bit more spread out. I guess first and foremost, right, there's 8 picks. I'm going to believe in myself. First and foremost, I'm going to believe in myself. My goal in this ladder league, disregarding top 8, is to get between the 3 and the 6 seed. I think it's very doable. I'm going to go with my under. I think it's kind of weird if you don't believe in yourself, honestly. I think you should believe in yourself. I think no matter what like your line is, I think you should believe in yourself. Pick your own under, because I think you're selling yourself short. I know Zach talks about this emotional hedge all the time, but I know I just talked about not doubling down on like one result. I think you should double down on yourself. Always believe in yourself. Anyways, that's gonna be my pick here. I'm not gonna so the Zach under. I'm not gonna go for simply or wait. I could do something really interesting for point's sake in predictions, because I think Zach's gonna win the race, right? And I think it's like very likely to happen. But I picked the Zach under here for 5 points. And then I picked someone else to win on the predictions, like a Jared, who I go in second. Nah, I think I don't think I do that. Because, right, the Zach under is pretty nice. But once again, that's wagering your 5 points here immediately on just one race. For example, my pick, I can lose a ton of matches and still get top 6. There's a lot of wiggle room. Zach has no wiggle room. I'm gonna not do that. I'm just gonna pick Zach to win on the weekly. Alright. Honestly, I haven't thought about this that much. I've seen a lot of people's picks. I've thought about those picks. Then I haven't like fully okay. So I kind of hate to be like a hater. Actually, no, here's what I think. Okay. I think Y2 in this bottom race, I think his line at 20.5 means he has to get last place, right? I think Y2 has the potential to win this race. I'm not very high on Olive, and Chess is prone to mistakes, and Y2 could just win this race, like I was saying. That gives me a 2 potential outcomes for Y2. Either he gets second or first, and I still win, right? Obviously, I could also just lose the weekly prediction with him losing, but I'm not taking that into account right now. I'm just solely focusing on, like, there's 2 spots that Y2 could be in this race to hit his under, and I think he will be in one of those 2 spots. I don't think he gets last. And I know I put him at 21 in the power rankings, but once again, the power rankings are kind of up to that a picture in time. That's not what I think in the future. It's a picture in time of what I think everyone's at right now. So I'm gonna go with the Y2 under. I was about to say I'm sorry I'm not a believer, but that was not what I meant to say because I am a believer in Y2 getting second. I guess obviously ideally he would get second in that race for my predictions, but I think he can get second or first. My next pick. Ooh, what I should do is dude, do I want to take the time? It's 1 hour 20 minutes. Do I want to take the time to yap and fill out an entire theory bracket? I forgot about that. Holy shit! Let's do this quick because I genuinely am not. Oh, it's not even on the right thing. I don't want to take this extremely seriously because it's gonna change every week. All right, boom. Here's my really quick theory bracket. No reasoning behind any of the picks. You're just gonna see them come in. Boom. Boom. Oh wait, I probably should pick second and third, right? Boom. 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 Considering the leapfrog, I'm gonna believe leapfrog. Boom. Just laser phantom. No leapfrog. Don't take this too seriously. I'm literally just ripping these like off the dome. EJP man. I'm gonna go Charizard, Coolison. Little flip on the rivalry that week. I think we're gonna see a shocker here. I think Quasar's gonna shockingly get out. I think that it's gonna be a little bit too much for chess there at that point. I'm gonna go boom. 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 Anorak is jumping all around the ladder right now. I'm gonna go a little bit of an upset. I'm gonna go another little upset. No leapfrog. Then I'm gonna go boom, boom, boom. I just want to see where this puts some of my theory picks, essentially. Well, actually, I do. I said I was gonna fill this out. I'm gonna go Phantom, Coolison, Mellow. Actually, I'm gonna go Coolison, Phantom, Mellow. I'm gonna go Rico, Jared, me, Anorak, Justin, Wazip. Justin and Wazip are matching up a lot in this. Go EJP man, a little bit of a shocker. Daime gets down to rung 3. Wow, Daime? Whoa. Whoa. Daime and Wazip in rung 3 together, or the bottom rung together that week. Laser survives. Coulson, I'm for the memes. I'll have Coulson win the last game of the rivalry. Do I go leapfrog? No. This is an insane bottom rung, by the way. Insane. I'm gonna go Anorak, Jared, Justin, me, Colton, EJP man. Jesus Christ, this is this is a tough one to pick, especially so deep in the ladder. Oh, I'm gonna. Well, this is like actually this doesn't even matter. Like this doesn't matter. This is my. I'm like quickly gonna screenshot this and just see how it went at the end, and then I'm gonna do one at the end of week 1. I'm gonna do one every week, so whatever. I hate doing this to Wazip because I'm a believer in Wazip, but I'm also a believer in Laser. Any leapfrogs? Wow, that was bold. Okay, that was bold. That was a little too bold, honestly. Wazip, Daime. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's just gonna be a crazy rung 3 week 5. Like it's just gonna happen no matter what. And a crazy rung 3 week 6. Oh my, wait. Hello. I guess you have to consider wildcard times too are a thing, right? So just because you get out, like Wazip could just be in the wildcard match. I'm gonna go Jared, me, Laser, just... Oh, wait, actually, this is kind of big. Yeah, Justin, Colton, EJP Man, and then I'm gonna go myself. I guess this doesn't really matter. And then I think the wild card match will be... I guess you can't like pick it in this. I think I would put Justin and Wazip fight it out for the 8 seed in this scenario. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Okay. My whole point to make this was anyways to help with my futures picks and seeing where people end up. Which honestly, with how I play this, Bricko is in the top rung 3 weeks in a row. And all 3 weeks he has a chance that it's under. Bro. How do I not... Oh, oopsies. What? Where'd my picks go? Did they save from here? Okay, I guess they didn't save when I went off the page. I'm gonna go Bricko under. I think he's got a lot of opportunities to do it. I think I got a lot of opportunities to do it. And it's not just because he made the graphic for me, guys, okay? And I had the Y2 under. It's not just because he made the graphic for me. And when I look at this... So, wait. I just want to make sure. 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12. Honestly, 11, 10. Ooh. This is really tough. Obviously. I mean, I'm a believer in Laser in this. Alright. Alright. I'm a believer in Laser. I'm a believer in Laser. Laser told me to take his under too. Dude, I'm such a happy-go-lucky person right now. Maybe I should start being mean. And start being a non-believer in some people. Now, remember this important detail. 9th place, right, is not the loser of the wild card. So just because you win the wild card, or make it to the wild card, and if you lose, you don't get 9th place. So, kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. But I think Colton has a lot of tough matchups that he's going to have to win. I know this is a theory ladder, right? And I guess I do have him kind of getting upset. But he doesn't get leapfrog, he still moves up. But if he just needs to make this race, right? If he just makes that race. And I guess I made it crazy because of the laser leapfrog. Colton wouldn't be in that. I wanted to take Colton's over, but I almost feel not justified to do it. Although, if I kind of believe in Wazip. Here's what I guess. I think Quasar is going to be put in a tough spot early. Where do I have him going out? Yeah, I have him shot. I think Quasar is going to get put in a tough spot early. Even if he wins that week 1 match, he's going to have a tough match here, which he's likely to lose and go to this. And then even if he makes it here, he's got to get second. He's 21, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, right? Which you definitely could. Honestly, I love Quasar, but this is like a... And I think like he has a really good chance to prove me wrong here, but I think he's in a tough spot where a lot of people below him are coming up quick, and I haven't seen him play that much, and this, like, he could just flip this around real easily. So I'm gonna go Quasar over. I feel like I gotta have some overs, though, is my reasoning. Okay, what other picks do I want? Like, Jared dropping to the 6 seed is really bold. I don't think I could safely take an over or an under for Jared. In fact, maybe an under would be safer because, right, he has so many opportunities. But then again, I have Bricko under, so I don't want to overlap too much. All right, we're at 4 or 5 right now. 5. Do I do the unthinkable? Do I become, like, Charizard in this situation definitely hits his line. Alright, Charizard. Alright, Charizard. I'm gonna believe in you this tournament, bro. I'm gonna believe in you this tournament. I know you'll probably watch. You're probably watching. I don't know if you're watching this far in, but I'm gonna believe in you, Charizard. All right. So you better come through. All right. Don't don't fumble. And honestly, with my predictions, I think Coulson and Charizard are both under, but I don't want to take both are over or under. So I'm gonna believe in Charizard. That puts me at 6 predictions here. Who am I gonna? I feel like I gotta be a non-believer in someone, right? I'm sorry. This is just. I think the problem is the gap between the top 7 and Justin right now is a little bit too much. And I know Justin can qualify, but I'm a little bit skeptical, and I think he will get the 8 seed. But I'm a bit skeptical that how many top rung opportunities does he have in this scenario? He has one in week 5 against Jared and Ararak, where he's probably a big underdog, and then he has week 7, which is his best chance. I know this is a random scenario that probably you can't look too much into it because it's just not going to happen, right? The amount of potential scenarios in this theoretical bracket is a billion, but it's like filling out a perfect March Madness bracket. But I just think he won't have as many. I'm thinking about opportunities in the top rung, and I think Justin's just not going to have enough. Where I think he'll safely get into that wild card match, and I think he will be the 8 seed, but I'm a bit skeptical about him finishing in the top 7. I just think there's a too big of a gap right now. All right, and that leaves me with probably I should pick someone at the top. Honestly, who's not a believer in Mr. E Roadhouse, tournament man himself? I don't want to take Zach. I would normally just take Zach's under because I believe that Zach, I believe he will get the 1 seed, but I don't want to double down on that pick right away because he loses, then I lose the 5 points and the prediction points for the week 1 match. Dragon, I know I have getting that 3 seed, but he can win that first race. I think and Jared too. Jared, I feel like is very volatile. I don't know. He could finish he can do what he did in season 1 and finish in the 6th or maybe in the 7th. You didn't hear me say that. And then, but he could also just get the 1 seed. So I'm a little afraid to pick Jared. I think Bricko has a lot of good opportunities. And I think I'm a believer in Bricko. He made my graphic for power rankings, so obviously I'm so biased. And then that's just a ride with the Mr. Roadhouse pick at the end there. All right, that'll lock in my predictions. All right, holy shit, this video was so long, and I kind of stopped yapping about Ladder League and stuff towards the end because I really haven't thought about my picks yet. But the picks are locked in. Whew, what a little yap session. I think that'll wrap up this video. I know the end part was not really about Ladder League. It was more of just a free ride of me just kind of picking and I didn't think about all this before the video. I've been yapping for so long. Alright. Enjoy the video, guys. Hopefully the other ones aren't this long. And I will see you guys after week 1. Hopefully I'll see you guys on the streams for the commentary. First match tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern. I'll be on commentary. Hope to see you guys there. Peace.